How exactly did you prove your unsupportive parents wrong? My sister Scarlett had it all. A shimmering sales record at West London's most exclusive luxury car dealership, a penthouse overlooking the Thames, and parents who saw her as the embodiment of success. Me? I was Liam, the guy covered in grease, living in a cramped flat above the garage I worked at, where the faint scent of oil was a permanent fixture. At family gatherings, Scarlett was the shining exhibit, while I was the dusty, forgotten relic, usually relegated to fetching drinks. The Christmas dinner that truly sealed my fate began with Scarlett's grand entrance. She swept in, draped in a designer coat, the keys to a gleaming new Aston Martin clinking from her perfectly manicured fingers. My parents practically bowed, rushing to embrace their golden child, while I, as usual, felt like an afterthought. Still tinkering with those old clunkers, Liam? Mom asked, her voice laced with that familiar, wary pity reserved for hopeless causes. She turned immediately to Scarlett, eyes gleaming. Tell us, darling, about the new vintage car acquisition for the dealership. We heard it's quite the coup. Dad's chest puffed out as Scarlett regaled them with tales of closing six-figure deals and charming elite clients. His eyes sparkled in a way they never did for me. When she mentioned securing a rare 1960s Jaguar E-Type, he actually applauded. Some people are meant for the grease and grime, others for the polished showroom, he declared, shooting me a pointed look. It's just how the world works. I focused on my plate, my wrench-calloused hands clenching. The interrogation continued through dessert, Scarlett subtly steering the conversation back to her triumphs. Each question about my future landed like a slap. My jaw tightened with every suggestion that I was wasting my life on dirty work. I swallowed hard, the taste of ash in my mouth. Maybe they were right. Maybe it was time to give up the dream of owning my own place, of building something truly special. When I brought Jake home for New Year's, the assault escalated. Jake, my best friend, was a fellow mechanic. Honest work with hands as rough as mine, and a laugh that filled the room. Scarlett's fiancé, suave city banker, spoke of their ski trips to Verbier and their upcoming yachting vacation, while my parents hung on his every word. Different people have different capabilities, Mum purred to Scarlett, loud enough for Jake and me to hear. My face burned with humiliation. Dad cornered me in the kitchen. You're 28, son. Don't you think it's time to aim higher than repairing other people's problems? His disappointed sigh felt like a punch to the gut. Final blow came during the gift exchange. Scarlett casually mentioned that our parents had helped with the investment for her new passion project, a small vintage car restoration side business she was supposedly launching. £20,000 transferred without hesitation. 6 months earlier, I'd asked to borrow £500 for a crucial welding machine for my garage, and I'd gotten a lecture about financial responsibility. We invest in proven success, Liam knocked pipe dreams, Dad explained, his words cutting deeper than any knife. I excused myself to the bathroom, staring at my reflection, eyes burning with unshed tears. In that moment, I wanted to scream too. Tell them exactly what I thought of their selective investment strategy. Instead, I splashed cold water on my face and returned to endure the rest of their performance. I left that night with a fire in my belly, a quiet, simmering rage that would become my fuel. 2 weeks later, fate served me the truth on a silver platter, delivered by a classic car. I was at the garage late, polishing the chrome on a '67 Mustang. I was secretly restoring one of my anonymous blueprints, as I called them. These were the custom vintage cars I built in my spare time. Selling them through a discreet online broker, they were gaining a quiet, almost legendary reputation in the high-end collector circuit, known only by their intricate craftsmanship and the blueprint moniker. A sleek black Porsche pulled into the garage, Scarlett stepping out, looking flustered. Liam, thank God you're here. We have a crisis at the dealership. Mr. Henderson, the notoriously difficult collector, is coming in tomorrow morning. He wants to see the 1960s Jaguar we just acquired. But the engine's seizing, our mechanics are swamped. My heart pounded. Mr. Henderson was the elusive collector I'd been trying to get in front of for months, hoping to showcase one of my blueprints. This was my chance. I swallowed my pride. Bring it over. I'll take a look. The next morning, the Jaguar arrived. As I worked, I noticed something off about the engine's serial number. It was subtly altered. My gut clenched. I cross-referenced it with an old auction listing I'd seen online. The original owner was a reclusive enthusiast who had supposedly sold his entire collection years ago, including a Jaguar of this exact make and year. Late-night research led me down a dark rabbit hole. The auction was legitimate, but the buyer was listed as a shell corporation. I dug deeper, finding obscure forums and whispers in collector circles about certain high-end dealerships acquiring cars through less than transparent means. Particularly, rare barn finds that suddenly appeared on their showroom floors with questionable provenance. Then, a chilling discovery. While working on the Jaguar's internal wiring, I found a hidden compartment, meticulously disguised. Inside, a small, encrypted USB drive. My hands trembled as I plugged it into my personal laptop. The drive contained a series of documents, altered ownership papers, inflated appraisal reports, and most damningly, a chain of emails detailing how Scarlett, through her position at the dealership, had been orchestrating the acquisition of classic cars by exploiting vulnerable or elderly sellers, buying them far below market value, sometimes even leveraging fraudulent paperwork to seize them. She then cleaned the titles and resold them at exorbitant prices. Her passion project wasn't restoration. It was outright theft and deception. Even worse, several emails hinted at her actively suppressing the work of independent custom builders to avoid competition and maintain the dealership's inflated pricing structure. She was the one anonymously reporting unlicensed custom jobs to obscure regulatory bodies, stifling small operations like the one I dreamed of having. The evidence was overwhelming. Dozens of fraudulent acquisitions, systematically documented, a network of exploitation that had built her entire sparkling career. My perfect sister was a predator. Every success story our parents worshipped was built on destroyed legacies and ruined dreams. I sent everything anonymously to a prominent automotive industry watchdog journalist, attaching copies to the local authorities. Within 2 weeks, the whispers turned into a roar. Headlines screamed, "Luxury dealership embroiled in vintage car scandal. Top sales executive linked to fraud." Scarlett was fired, her reputation in tatters, and the dealership faced a massive investigation. Her new Aston Martin was repossessed, her assets frozen. She moved back into her childhood bedroom, broke, disgraced, facing a lengthy legal battle. The annual London Classic Car Show, usually a triumph for Scarlett and the dealership, was approaching. It was the perfect stage for my final move. Mr. Henderson, unaware of the internal turmoil, had agreed to showcase the restored Jaguar at the show under the dealership's banner. But he'd made one stipulation. He wanted the mechanic, who truly brought her back to life, to be present. The day of the show was a blur of polished chrome and hushed anticipation. Scarlett, looking gaunt and defeated, was there, forced to witness the spectacle she once controlled. My parents, looking utterly bewildered, hovered nearby. As Mr. Henderson stepped onto the stage. Flanked by the now skeletal dealership owner, he gestured to the gleaming Jaguar. "And now," he announced, "I want to introduce the true craftsman behind this masterpiece, the individual who not only resurrected this magnificent machine, but, as I've recently learned, is also the brilliant mind behind the Blueprint series, a true artisan of our time." He turned to me, a spotlight hitting my oil-stained hands and slightly frayed work shirt. The crowd murmured, Scarlett's jaw dropped, her eyes wide with a mixture of disbelief and dawning horror. My parents stared, their faces draining of color. "Liam Davies, the blueprint builder," Mr. Henderson boomed, placing a hand on my shoulder. "This young man, dismissed by many, is the unsung genius responsible for some of the most exquisite custom cars entering the market today." The dealership owner, his face pale, cleared his throat. "We were unaware of Mr. Davies' full capabilities until recently. We are deeply apologetic for any past oversights. I stepped forward, my voice resonating with a newfound confidence. "Or deliberate suppression. This Jaguar, like many other cars acquired by this dealership, was bought under false pretenses. And the blueprint designs, some of which were curiously inspired by their showroom models, were deliberately undermined." A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. Scarlett let out a choked sob. "Liam, no," she whispered, her voice cracking. "Yes, Scarlett," I said, meeting her eyes. "The truth has a way of revving its engine." The public reveal was swift and brutal. The journalist I'd contacted released his expo simultaneously with the show. Within minutes, phones lit up, the scandal exploding across social media. Mr. Henderson, disgusted, publicly severed his ties with the dealership and announced he would exclusively commission my blueprint creations. The dealership owner, facing a barrage of questions, announced Scarlett's immediate and permanent dismissal, citing unethical practices. 6 months later, I stood in the gleaming showroom of Davies Custom, my own garage officially opened. with Mr. Henderson as my first major investor. Dad, looking genuinely humbled, apologized to Jake, shaking his hand firmly. "You were right about Liam all along," he admitted. Mom, her eyes wet, gave me a hug. "We're so sorry, Liam. You were the only one with real integrity." Meanwhile, Scarlett worked at a small, struggling repair shop, fixing basic family cars, minimum wage. Her mugshot plastered across local news articles, legal bills bankrupting what little she had left. The golden child lost everything, while their failure had built something truly magnificent for me and for those who believed in genuine craftsmanship. My video should start with a full hook and end powerfully and enjoyably, something that people can truly relate to. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to smash that thumbs up and hit subscribe for more unforgettable, emotional, and viral true stories. We want to hear from you. Drop a comment and tell us, where in the world are you watching from?